socially acceptable. You hear things like off the reservation, you hear things like we're going to have a powwow, Indian giver. All these sayings are things that are specifically tied to a negative stereotype or are used to demean and dehumanize indigenous people and trivialize indigenous people. And though a lot of those things predate Native mascots, the acceptance of Native mascots and the acceptance of Native imagery has lent this, again, to extend well past what we consider to be socially acceptable for our time. A study done by a professor at the University of Michigan showed that exposing indigenous youth to Native mascots, to negative stereotypes within mascots, and Native American imagery has led to increased in depression, suicidal tendencies, lower self-esteem, and lowered overall academic study. The power that this has been well documented, and yet we still widely accept it in one arena, but not the other. And one of the biggest resistances that we see within this conversation is the fact that people often say that not everyone agrees with them. Not all indigenous people agree with this assessment, that there are studies done to show that not all Native American people agree with this. And it's true, as with every social conversation, you're going to have varying degrees of opinions. And though a lot of that data that they refer to is not entirely accurate.
Or it says that in 2004, a poll found that 90% of Native Americans did not find the name offensive.
Oh, the Annenberg report. Well, the funny thing about the Annenberg report is that it was conducted in Pennsylvania by self-identifying indigenous people, which means it could have been anybody off the street that says, oh yeah, my great-great-great-grandmother was a Cherokee princess.
Come on, who would do that?
My great-great-grandfather's full-blood Cherokee Indian. Show of hands, who has Cherokee or any Native American? Brian, what do you got in you?
Cherokee, but I have no idea how much or little.
Right.
I'm actually 112.
1/12 Cherokee.
As 112 Cherokee, I am not offended.
That's a whole different conversation. There are nations that are okay with this. The difference is they use individual nations and individual tribal names for their mascot, such as the University of Utah Utes and the University of Florida State Seminoles. Those nations gave those permissions. But when you use a general term like Indians, Redskins, or Chiefs, that's way more inclusive and includes every single nation or anyone who identifies with that racial group. And the opinion of such is pretty lopsided when you take into account the people who are actually indigenous. So you can't really take a very small group of people and apply it to the whole. And that's really what we see. You also hear other groups of people that are named as mascots and they claim they don't have a problem with it. They often like to refer to the University of Notre Dame Fighting Irish, but again, there's a history behind that. It's an Irish Catholic school. And those particular people at that time gave that permission. It's not accurate and it's not okay. So the point of this is that this is a part of a bigger conversation that we need to have. And though we can hold specific individuals responsible all we want, that's not going to do a whole lot of good. We address the issue as a whole or the root cause of this entire thing and why this thing exists. Something to think about.